Welcome everyone to Chatz with Charnie. Thank you so much for joining this week's episode. This week we're going to be discussing a topic that makes most of us uncomfortable, maybe anxious, nervous when we just think about having to do it. This week we're discussing salary negotiations and how to go about it. Our guest today is none other than our resident HR expert, Laura Helsinger from Lessons with Laura. Laura, just tell the viewers how you're doing. It's been a while since you've been on Chat with Charnie, so just fill us in on what's good.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me yet again. I always love sharing insight, but no, I've been amazing. I've been good. I have moved into a new place, so I've been super busy. I started studying again this year, so I'm extremely busy. But if anyone wants to talk about microeconomics, I can just have a full conversation about microeconomics now instead of HR. So I've expanded my range, but no, very busy, but very fulfilling few months so far. Yeah, I mean, I'm just in a very happy place. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. That is awesome. We always love to hear about people leveling up, expanding, moving to new places, learning about new things, learning a completely new career path, if that is what you want to do. But that's completely amazing. I love it for you. But let's get into the actual interview and our questions with regards to salary negotiations. I know that there are quite a few people that is going through this right now. I've had actually a few questions in terms of how do I deal with this? Where do I get information from? So I thought it's best to tackle all of this in just one video, and then we share the information with as many people as we possibly can. So let's get into it. So question number one, Laura, how long after you receive your salary notification or your salary increase notification should you bring up the fact that, you're not fully satisfied with the salary that's been noted in the notice? How long should you wait?
Yeah, so ideally you would need to have the conversation actually before that notice comes out, right? So usually when those notices come out, the system has already processed salaries, it's already been done. So in that sense, it would be too late. So I would advise strongly, if you know you're being underpaid, go to your line manager and have that conversation when the reward cycle actually starts, so that they can, because remember, everything is about budget now. And the biggest cost for an employer would be employees. Staff costs are always the biggest cost. So if it's going to be an incremental increase, fine, that was fine because they were budgeting for it. But if it's going to be more than a 10% increase, they're going to have to motivate that to the higher powers. So please, before you even get your notification and you know that you're being underpaid, rather have that conversation beforehand instead of when the notice has come out, because it seems very reactive as opposed to proactive. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I love that. It seems more reactive than it is proactive. And you want to show that you're proactive and that you actually know your value and know your worth and what you're bringing to the company. So we've discussed that we have to raise this before we get the notice, knowing that we're underpaid. But how does the individual raise the subject matter? Like, how should they actually, what wording should they use? Because like I said initially, this is something that brings a bit of anxiety, a bit of nervousness to the individual. So what is the appropriate wording that they should use when bringing up that they'd like to discuss their salary?
Yeah, so you can easily say that your salary isn't market related. So that's what I would usually say in terms of having a conversation with your line manager. And remember, so you are the first point of call to this conversation. Then your line manager needs to have that fight on behalf of you in order to get your salary raised, right? Especially if it's important to you. And remember, guys, money is important to people. So when people say, oh no, I'm not here for the money, I'm here for the other benefits. No, I'm honest, I'm there for money, to be honest, right? So you would say it's not market related. And you can also bring up the fact that you've been performing to a certain degree and that it needs to be rewarded as such. because and ideally you shouldn't know your peers' salary information, that's illegal, but just to then know the market related data. So you could know maybe someone else in another company, but also just keep in mind the nuances of your company, and how they reward people. So know how they reward people based on the specific scales that they can either publish or that your reward or HR manager would have. So yeah.
That's really good advice. I think that a lot of us sometimes we find out this information about our fellow colleagues' salaries, and we're like, but I'm not earning that and I need to earn more. But it's all based on performance. It's based on what you bring to the table. It's probably also based on the skills that this person is bringing and what you're bringing, and the experience, whether that is only local or if it's a mixture of local, international, or purely international experience
100%.
as well. You made mention that you need to speak to your line manager in terms of your performance, right? In many instances, I've heard that from people that sometimes they just don't get along with their line manager. And I've experienced that as well, where I don't have a good relationship with the line manager. It's difficult for me to speak to that person, or perhaps that person wants to keep me either in their team, so I can't be promoted to a next level, or maybe they just love having me in the team and they don't want me to move to another team.
Yeah.
In that instance, who in management can I then go to if I feel that, or I have the impression that my line manager isn't the best person to speak to initially?
HR. So the purpose of HR is to be the bridging between a line manager and an employee in those difficult circumstances, almost like a mediator, right? So this includes difficult conversations regarding salary. If you can't speak to your line manager, go to your HR business partner. Every employee should have an HR business partner, or at least know someone in HR that they can speak to. Because that's part of most company structures and organizational makeup. So if you, and the HR person will know your salary. So your line manager knows your salary, HR will know your salary. They'll be able to give you unbiased advice. So if your line manager says, listen, no, you're doing fine, you're being paid fine, whatever, versus your HR business partner who will say, listen, I hear where you're coming from. However, we're going through a reward cycle. We're not budgeting for this, but this can be addressed in the next few months, etc., whatever, right? Then you need to decide if that's going to be something that you, or an answer that you're comfortable with. And if so, wait it out. But it's usually line manager or HR. You don't want to discuss your salary with too many people in the business because it's highly confidential. But those are, or that's an alternative to your line manager that I would say.
Perfect. I love it. And I feel like sometimes, I shouldn't be using the word I feel, but to me, sometimes it's easier, or you have a better relationship with the people in HR than what you sometimes do with the people in your own team. So it does make sense in those instances to go straight to HR and ask them for their advice, or give them your dilemma so that they can help you work through it. You also made note of that you have to provide them with a market-based salary in terms of a comparable salary. Where would you generally get this information from, or which websites do you know that is out there that somebody could go to and search for this comparable information?
Yeah, so two top websites come to mind. One is PayScale. So PayScale would give you market-related data on your salary versus, the markets, as well as Glassdoor. So those are two sites. Just a caveat on those, right? So most of these sites, they are free. And if they are free, they're not always accurate. So if you want more accurate information, you're going to have to pay for it. Or organizations that participate in these salary surveys or cost to company surveys, earning surveys, etc., they would have given the actual real-time data to compare with other industries, but then you would need to pay. So you can either ask your organization if they have that comparable data. Maybe they've participated in a recent survey, you don't know, or the free route would be PayScale or Glassdoor.
Nice, thank you. I'd also just like to add one more with regards to that. So I know for everyone that's in the tech side or in the finance side, you can also go to Robert Walters. They have recently, I think, published a salary survey, and it's depending on where you live, how many years experience you have, and that will give you a range of what your expected salary is within the market, obviously benchmarks to other countries within the other companies within the industry.
Yeah.
So there you have three. It was PayScale, Glassdoor, and Robert Walters as well. So please, viewers, go and have a look at that, see what type of support that you can gain from that and use that within your support. So now speaking about support, right? What is basically your list of support that you need to have when you go for the salary negotiation conversation? So we've discussed you need to have a market-based salary, something that you can compare your own salary to. You need to say what is the value or how you've been progressing within the business. Maybe you've helped release a new product or a new service line or something, an achievement that you have achieved within the business. Is there anything else that the individual needs to consider?
Yeah, so those are the two main things. So market related isn't, so you can definitely use that as a support to, progress the conversation. But performance. So remember to focus on yourself. Don't focus on your peers. Don't focus on other people who may have been successful in a salary negotiation, because then you're using someone for personal gain, and it's illegal, to be honest. So just back yourself on what you've done and actually make notes in terms of what you have delivered, what if it was on par or if it was exceeding expectations, etc. And then if you want to have a conversation maybe with a reward person beforehand, they can help to support that conversation about market data before you go to your line manager, or even before you go to your HR business partner. So as long as you have as many sponsors in your circle, be it data, be it people, be it yourself, I think those are the top three that I would use for support.
I like that. I like not using somebody else as a benchmark, because like you said, you're using them for personal gain, which is wrong, unethical, and as you just now said, illegal.
Illegal. Yes.
But more focusing on yourself. And I think this will also motivate the individual, if in this discussion, maybe your line manager or the rewards manager says, but you haven't really been performing as you said you have, it also motivates that person to perform more.
Yes.
Right? Or to come up with a plan with your line manager of how I can perform more, how I can show my skills, how I can achieve more in the business, if that is what the individual chooses to do. Right? Exactly. Because we always have a choice when it comes to these discussions. It's either I stay and I get my salary that I want, I stay and I work harder, or I leave and go elsewhere and get the salary that I think that I deserve. I truly also believe that if you're not happy, and this doesn't only have to do with salary, if you're not happy in the position that you're in, if you feel suffocated, if you feel depressed, if you feel that you're really trying your best, but you keep pushing you down or keeping you under their thumb, that it's best that you leave. Because the worst thing that you can do to yourself is be in an environment for the majority of your day, which you absolutely hate. I
completely concur. So remember to always put yourself first. These corporations put themselves first. They want to get as much out of you as possible and pay you the least amount of money. That's, however, some organizations actually look after your well-being. So I would really take stock. If you're about to have this conversation, be honest with yourself. If you haven't performed, don't have a salary conversation, because then you have no support for yourself, right? However, if you're feeling that you have performed, you've been getting constant feedback from the business that you're amazing, that you've been meeting expectations, you've been consistent, and you still feel like, and that you're being underpaid, be brave enough to have that conversation, because no one else is going to have it on behalf of you. So that is, but please just be honest with yourself. Don't have conversations when you're about to go on a performance management process. So rather take stock, but at the same time, don't let people take advantage of you. If you feel as if you can get better mental health and money elsewhere, it's healthy to leave. So yeah.
One more question with regards to, in a follow-up on the support question. If we have an instance where the individual either has had another company come to them and kind of like headhunted them and said, hey, we are, for example, you're working for a consulting company and you are a consultant at another company, you're a contractor, and they come to you and they say, we really love the work that you're doing, your performance is great, and we would like to have you on our team full-time, no longer as a consultant for the company that you're working for, and we're willing to pay you more. Now, let's say that this particular individual actually enjoys working as a consultant. What do they then do in that instance? Can they, in terms of supporting an increase in their salary, can they use that as support as well? Or is it best not to?
No, I would, to be honest. Again, it's not illegal to do that. So if you are getting a counter offer, but you would like to actually stay at your current company, but you feel like they're not, paying you fairly, and you've been regarded as top talent, as an example, you can use that as leverage to then say, listen, I'm thinking about leaving. I went through the interview process. This is the offer that this company has given to me. Unless you can match it or better it, I actually have to think about myself and I have to leave. If they really value you, they'll give you a counter offer. If not, they'll let you go, because then you are easily replaceable, unfortunately. So, but you can use that as leverage to your current company, 100%.
Awesome. Love it. Now, Laura, we're on to our last question for the interview. I can't even believe it that we went through this so awesomely, because you just have answers to everything. I love it.
Well, let's hope for the last question I also have answers, please.
No, the last question will be quite easy. So, Laura, what additional advice can you give to the viewers? Somebody who wants to have this discussion, but they are somewhat fearful to do so, or they feel too timid or shy to do so, to have a bit more confidence in themselves that they do have the ability to have the conversation and have a successful conversation with regards to their salary.
Yeah. So I think I've actually said this before. Have the data to back yourself up. Right? And have people in your corner to do that, not peers. I cannot stress this enough. Don't go into a meeting with your manager and have your friend sitting next to you who works with you and be like, yeah, I'm getting paid this, so she should get, no. So, and it's going to take, I'm thinking of a very nice way to say this. It's going to take confidence. I can't think of a better word, but it's going to be a very uncomfortable situation. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's what you have to do, right? So you can have all the data and then all of a sudden you get into a meeting and you're stuck. But have people in your corner, have your data, have your performance registry that people can refer to, because they can't argue with facts. That's it. Opinion versus facts. You have to go in with facts, right? So that would be my ultimate advice in terms of going into a conversation, because facts builds confidence as well. And if people know or can see you know what you're talking about, they can't say no to you. So yeah.
I love that. Facts builds confidence.
Yes.
I just put them as a huge blurb across the screen. Hi, Laura Helsinger. Facts builds confidence.
I mean, amen.
Thank you so much, Laura. We've learned so much from you with regards to this, and I think that it's going to help a lot of people work through it, but also build up their support in terms of what they need to have this meeting, where they can find the information from. And I'll be also linking those 3 websites down below in the description box for those of you that would like to see where it is and like to look at that information. And Laura, just thank you once again for being on Chats with Charnie. It's always a pleasure having you here. We wish you well. And I am so happy that you are happy and that you're experiencing so much joy, not only in your professional life, but in your personal life as well. Wish you well with the lessons of Laura too. And who knows, we probably will have you back on Chats with Charnie at some point. Thank you for being our resident HR.
Resident friendly neighborhood HR.
I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining into another chat with Charnie. This is it for this week. Please follow Laura on LinkedIn at Laura Helsinger, or follow her hashtag at Lessons with Laura. And also follow me, Chat with Charnie, and Chanel Hercules on LinkedIn and Instagram. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.